What is up, everybody? I'm No Lex Given, and this is the Gambit Game.
My name is Ben.
I'm Shu.
My name is Joey.
I'm a game show producer.
I speak 4 different languages.
I'm considered to be one of the greatest Mafia players of all time.
I mean, the worst thing about the Gambit game is it has ruined all other gaming for me.
Oh my god.
Yes!
Oh my god.
11 players will compete over a series of episodes, with one player being eliminated each episode until there is a single champion. Each episode consists of a trial and a duel. The trial will determine who will play in the duel. The duel is a high-stakes one-on-one game, where the winner advances and the loser is eliminated.
In this video, I'm going to be introducing you all to the Gambit game and its competitors. And I think this video will mostly say a lot about me. It's mostly an introduction to myself, and even this is kind of just a good introduction to what I'm about, that I'm gonna get so in the weeds and get so much detail out of just this 40-second teaser trailer. That's definitely a sign of some things to come. And for each episode this season, I'm gonna be doing the same thing. I might be joined by some special guests throughout, and we're gonna break down each Gambit Game episode, talk about the funniest moments, talk about the craziest gameplay, and everything, all of the entertainment value that all of these episodes entail. I'm also gonna go back through some of my past confessionals, some things that don't quite make it into the episode because I've got a lot to say, as you're gonna find out today, and I'm just gonna explain all of my thought processes, what I thought about all of the players, and what I thought about every single game move, basically at every point throughout the Gambit game. So we're gonna break that all down in the weeks to come, and I will also have the other competitors on as they get eliminated to talk about how they were feeling at various points during the game. And the idea of this is to get every single perspective for anybody that is just looking for that much more Gambit game content. And like I said, now I'm gonna break this down basically frame by frame. I'm not quite gonna go over every single frame, but we'll talk about a lot of stuff that this teaser trailer kind of covers. And first things first, we've got all 11 players. So there's a lot to unpack right here. Leanne, Grunkle, Joey, I'm trying to not miss anybody, but I went in a really random order there. Alex, Zach, Devin, Kathy, Spicy, Shub, Ben, and myself at the bottom of the screen. We also have 2 dealers up on the top of the screen, Dealer Maddie and Dealer Sam. I haven't seen the series yet, so I don't know how much you all are going to hear from the dealers throughout the series, but in other iterations of the Genius, which this isn't technically the Genius, but in iterations of the Genius, you do hear the dealers kind of interact with the players and kind of be characters themselves throughout the story. And we did already hear Dealer Maddie, or we'll hear her later rather, as we move through the trailer. But that's everybody. You can also see that this is all online. So to bring us back here a little bit, this was filmed 2 years ago in 2021, which was a little bit of a different time. People were staying indoors a little bit more. And so we all got together and we didn't know each other yet. We all just applied to be on this, and maybe that's something else I can talk about one day. But these were the 11 players that were selected to play in a variety of games here online. We didn't really know each other, though, because we all have at least a similar interest, or most of us have a similar interest in a fandom for the Korean reality TV series The Genius. We have crossed paths some online in the past, but for the most part, I'll just say this. I only knew Grunkle up here at the top. I was playing another game with him at the same time this started that was like kind of a similar thing. Next week, by the way, I'm going to be breaking down my first foray into the Genius, and we call them orgs, online reality games. I played a Genius org on Discord that was kind of my entrance into the Genius online community. I'm gonna break that down next week. It's way too much to talk about today, and it's crazy. The story has a lot of crazy twists and turns, which is fun. That's part of the excitement of participating in this sort of mock reality TV experiment. So this is our attempt to emulate it here over what seems to be Zoom. It's not quite Zoom. It's a little bit more complicated in that there were like different rooms that we could hop between, so that way we could have private conversations, and that's a huge part of the genius, that there's a lot of hidden information, all of it as well. But the other thing that I wanted to say in introducing these players, and I'll give you a great example here. When we see Shub the second time, language analyst, and they say that they can speak 4 languages, I believe. Let me listen here. Let me put my headphones in.
Languages.
I just missed it.
My name is Ben.
I'm Shub.
My name is Joey.
I'm a game show producer.
I speak 4 different languages.
Okay, yes, they speak 4 different languages. I did not know this until I watched this teaser. And the reason that I bring that up is just to say that we didn't really know each other, and we still don't really know each other. We really just focused a lot of our efforts onto the games, and this took a little while to come out, so we weren't sure, that just kind of left us a little bit in limbo. But I will tease a little bit about what I know about some of these players. Basically, I think going in, I think maybe that's the only things that I should say. And then anything else will probably get revealed as the season goes on, and I'll talk about it then. I knew that Zach also spoke a bunch of languages. He revealed that at some point. Devin was a 2-time Jeopardy champion. That's pretty cool. You got a lot of different players from a lot of different things, and I think those are the only ones that aren't really revealed in this trailer, but then everybody else has at least an opportunity to talk about themselves. And Alex is somebody that you might recognize as well if you've seen similar things like this, but a lot of that, I'm sure, will start to roll out as we watch through the episode. So I'll leave some of that for the future, but I at least just wanted to take a second to showcase the variety of players in this cast. And then I'm just gonna throw my headphones on here so that way I can watch along with you. Let's keep watching the trailer.
My name is Ben.
I'm Shub.
My name is Joey.
I'm a game show producer.
I speak 4 different languages.
I'm considered to be one of the greatest Mafia players of all time.
So, there is the intro to our first 3 competitors, and a little bit of contrast. I said I didn't quite know that Shub spoke 4 languages. I think we did all know about Ben and Joey. Some of the details are going to be a little bit fuzzy to me because, again, this was 2 years ago, but I think that both of those guys were pretty forthcoming about their different strengths and stuff. I think Ben was bragging a little bit, and Joey's Discord handle is Mafia Joey, so we all kind of knew that he was into Mafia. But the important thing here is that there are a variety of different gameplay experts in this competition. Excuse the wind, sorry, it's kind of going crazy today. And we all brought our unique abilities to this competition, and I think that that's part of the fun, is now we get to see which type of gamer will do the best in these games. And now, as we move on to this slide, I'll start to talk about the games a little bit. I'm not gonna get too in depth in what we're actually looking at here on the screen. You can go through the video, you can break it down, and you can guess what these games are going to be, but I already know what they are. So I'm not going to speak to that, but this is just a nice little teaser. If you are familiar with the Genius, you'll know what type of games we're about to see. And we're going to see some very similar games that are played in the Korean reality TV show The Genius, though with slight changes. And part of the genius, part of what makes it fun, is you are presented with these brand new games that you've never seen before. You might recognize some elements to them if you've played poker before or if you've played chess, but they're not going to be the exact same cards or the exact same pieces that you would play with in those games. And a lot of the fun of the genius is how you're able to figure out the games in the limited time that's available to you. So a lot of these are going to be games, like I said, especially if you've seen The Genius, that look pretty familiar, but maybe with a few small twists and turns that just make them a little bit different. And like I said, you've got limited time to figure them all out, and that is really what The Genius is all about, is how quickly can you come up with a solution while also battling against the other players and against the hidden information that they may or may not have. So let's take a look at some of these games that get teased up here. 11 epic mind games, and then we're going to hear some really smart words here from No Luck's Given. Maybe I can just show off each of these screens one at a time here. We've got something. I'm not going to say anything more than that. Okay, some cash, some light sticks, whatever those are, and then looks like all of the different competitors in chairs around a circle. We also have here, I'll say this, I think this is fine to say, a game with hidden roles and deception. We see detective, mastermind, criminal, mole. So a lot of different spying and infiltrating and stuff like that. What is the last thing that we see here? Maybe that's it. Okay, mind games. Great. So that's just a little bit of what you can expect on the games this season. I wanted to take a second now to break down this statement from No Luck's Given.
I mean, the worst thing about the Gambit game is it has ruined all other gaming for me.
The worst thing about the Gambit game is that it has ruined all other gaming for me. And I will, you know what, I might as well just put myself on the screen so that I can talk about exactly what I mean with this statement. This is probably going to be the bulk of the video. I think that it's probably the title of the video as well. The Gambit game is the greatest experience in gaming that I've ever gotten to play and probably ever will play. And that is why I am so excited and doing a lot of hype for it. It's just so cool. It's everything that I've always wanted to do. I've always loved games like Survivor, which are really all about reading people and trying to understand the social dynamics that are at play. I really love, and I brought this up a few months ago, leading up into my coverage for The Genius, the Netherlands. I really like multiplayer games. I really like games where the whole game is understanding the other players in the game. And that works really well for social deduction games like Among Us and Mafia and things like that. But it also works really well for games like Catan, which is just a classic board game. 4 people play it, only one person can win. And a lot of how you can gain an advantage in Catan is understanding what the other players are willing to do and not do, and manipulate your position. And I'll just say this. One of my favorite things in group board games is the idea that you can manipulate your perceived advantage. And that's a lot of words to say that you can basically appear like less of a threat, and you can make it seem like you were disadvantaged in order to attempt to earn an advantage. And a lot of gaming, I think, is very psychological, and that's my favorite part of gaming. It's also just something that I very much enjoy. I'm in school for psychology, currently taking a break. I had a little bit of a health issue last year, but that is my plan for my life. And where I can kind of find the crossroads between that and gaming, I think is really fun. In a typical multiplayer game, there's a lot of that, like I said, manipulation of who is currently advantaged, but in a larger game where there are 11 total players, there's just a lot more room to play around with these ideas. You can make other players into threats, you can form alliances or coalitions, and a lot of different cool ways to manipulate the game board in this way. And it's not just totally insidious. Everybody kind of signed up knowing that deception was a huge part of the gameplay and a huge part of the fun. So that's what I am really, really excited to dive into. And I think that the Gambit game does it in a much better way than either a board game or just a typical reality competition like Survivor or Big Brother, because it's both. And I guess there's like three pillars there. There's like the social aspect that you would find in Survivor. There is the deceptive aspect that you would find in a game like Among Us. And then there is the strategic aspect that you would find in a game like chess or like Catan. Though, like I said, Catan also does have those other elements too. The Gambit game has all three of these elements, just at a much, much higher scale. And games are also different the more that you play them. Once you are playing Catan the 20th time with the same group of people, then there's a whole different understanding on how important the value of bricks might be on a certain board. But the first time you play that, it really comes down to who was able to very quickly grasp and manipulate the rules to their advantage. And that's what the Gambit game is all about, because we're all going to be presented these rules basically at the same time. Some of us might have a little bit more experience with similar types of games. Some of us might know poker a little bit better. Some of us might know deception games a little bit better. But regardless, we're all presented with the same rule set at the same time, and then it's about who can interpret it the best and use that to their advantage. But then beyond that, you just have all of these complicated social elements, this tangled web that carries on from game to game. You can kill somebody in Among Us, and then they might not be willing to trade you that sheep when you play Catan the next week. Whereas normally, when you play games like that with your friends, you might be able to do that and separate those two games entirely. In the Gambit game, your success and your ability to not get eliminated from the game is very much defined by what happens in the previous game. So if somebody betrays you, well, you're not going to forget that easily the next week. So there's so many really awesome elements to this, of betrayal, of trying to build alliances so that you can betray people, and just a lot of fun that I really can't wait to show y'all. And that is why the Gambit game has ruined all other gaming for me, because really nothing else could possibly compare to what I think is the greatest possible game out there. Then we're gonna see each of the players in various amounts of distress and discomfort. We've got Leanne here, Kathy, Zach, Spicy, Grunkle, and Alex. We're gonna meet all of them over the next few months while we explore the Gambit game, and then this is going to talk a little bit more about the format. This is Dealer Maddie talking here. 11 players will compete over a series of episodes, with one player getting eliminated each episode until there is a single champion. And to talk a little bit about the specifics, again, if you are not familiar with the Genius, if you are, skip 30 seconds. We are going to play a big group game. From that game, there will be winners and there will be losers. winners are immune for the week and make it into the next episode. The loser will pick somebody that isn't a winner to duel. That is going to be a one-on-one deathmatch. Apologies if this teaser is about to spoil that. I don't remember if it is or not. The loser of that deathmatch is eliminated from the game. So it's all about managing expectations. It's about understanding the social dynamics, because if you lose, there's two ways to get eliminated. You can either lose the group game, at which point you're up for elimination, or you could screw over the person that loses the group game and thus be subject to their choice as another duel participant. So two different ways to make it into the duel. One person will get eliminated each week until only one person is left. So each episode, here we go, consists of a trial. That's a big group game. That's going to be things like Among Us, Catan. I'll rename those because those are the two examples that we've already said, though the games that we actually play will be nothing like those. Then the duel will be something more akin to a classic strategy game that you think of. And the best example of that is chess. But it's not going to just be chess. It might look like chess, but then use a variety of different pieces that you wouldn't normally play with in a chess game, brand new made up pieces. And the reason for that is the Gambit game's goal isn't just to find the best chess player, and it isn't just to find who knows the most games. If we were to play chess one week and then backgammon the next week, then whoever had played the most games before would come in with a pretty huge advantage. And you do still have a pretty big advantage coming in having played a variety of different games, but rather what Gambit Game is attempting to test is your ability to figure out games. And that is always what I've really, really loved in gaming. I do have a series on the channel where I kind of just showcase my very first look at various games, because I've always found that to be some of the most fun times when you are playing a game, is when you are initially learning it. That discovery process, I think, really tests a different level of intelligence. My skill set in particular really lends itself well to quickly picking up a game. I might not go so far as to master it because I move on to the next game, but given 20 minutes with a game's rule set, I think I can get a pretty good grasp on what things in the game are important. So I've tended to really enjoy limited games in the past. There's a lot of different formats and different styles of games, but one of my favorite styles of games, and why I found the auto battler genre so compelling recently, is that I like games that require you to look at information that has never been presented to you before and weigh the different values and costs and risks of pursuing different strategies. So anything where you sort of draft gameplay elements or purchase gameplay elements to then later use in the game. Games like that, I think, are really fun. Any games where you have to draft the elements. I brought up auto battlers. I've been playing a lot of a game called Storybook Brawl over the past year or so, and those are the games where I think that my strengths are at the top. There's going to be a lot in the initial episode of people bragging about their own accomplishments, and I kind of wish that I had bragged a little bit more myself and brought up that I was the #1 drafter in a game called SoulForge that I played a few years ago at this point. But my favorite mode with that was a mode where basically it's a deck building game, it's a card game, a collectible card game, and you are presented with a bunch of different cards at the start of a draft, and you select the cards that you want to play with, and then you battle against other opponents that have done the same thing. And in that mode, I was the #1 rated player in the world, which once you've played the game 200 times, it becomes less about your ability to understand the resource system on like a quick level, because you can understand, okay, well, Grimgaunt Predator is a really good card that I want, or Wirewood Patriarch, I want to draft that card whenever I see it, Aloyan Strategist, etc. Just kind of remembering some names of some old cards here, but still, there is a definite skill to be able to see a bunch of game pieces and then evaluate on the fly, and then in terms of the Gambit game, evaluate those game pieces on the fly in relation to what other players are doing. And now I think you're getting a little bit more of a full picture of exactly why I love the Gambit game, because it provides all of these elements in gaming that I really enjoy and I think really, really speak to some of my strengths. So let's finish this off here. The Duel is a high-stakes one-on-one game. You can see some chess pieces here, and the loser goes home. And that's it. The Gambit game. First move. We do get a little bit more info here. 3/26/2023. 2 years after the players started competing in the Gambit game. So this has been a long time coming for me, and I'm just super excited to share this awesome journey. I have no clue what the episodes are going to look like. I've got no clue what makes the cut and what doesn't. I do obviously know how far I went in the competition. I'm going to try my best not to spoil that, though I will say, I think I gave some fun stuff out there, and that is all I was trying to do. I don't know, again, how much is going to make the cut, but I know I had a blast playing it, and I'm so excited to finally share it with y'all. But for today, that's gonna be it. See you guys. I'll be back next week with, again, the story of the first time I played in one of these competitions, and then in just 2 weeks, we're gonna get to start watching the Gambit game. So thank you guys very much for watching. That's gonna be it for me today. I'm No Lux Given. Peace.